Jesus was in Gethsemane in a garden with James, Peter, and John. Judas, who was also one of his disciples, had plotted a blame of theft against Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. Jesus could feel that he would soon be betrayed by someone very close to him. Judas went up to Jesus and kissed him and got him falsely arrested for stealing the temple's treasury. It was soon decided that Jesus would have to be put to death because of the crime that Judas had made up against him. As soon as Judas heard the final decision, he was filled with guilt for whatever he had done. He had never meant for Jesus to die. He betrayed Jesus because of his greed, but now he felt sorry for what he had done. The next morning, Judas went to the priests with a bag of 30 silver coins that they had given him for betraying Jesus. On entering the temple, he said,
I have made a big mistake. Please do not kill Jesus. He is not guilty.
The priests did not listen to what he said. They said,
We have no reason to worry about your problem. And as for Jesus, he must be put to death. That is the final decision.
Horrified at what was happening, Judas threw the coins on the floor and walked out. Judas was full of guilt. The priests collected the money and used it to buy a potter's land and used the land as a graveyard for foreigners. Now let us start with today's story. Long ago, Jesus was arrested by Judas and taken to the high priest. Judas had plotted against Jesus for 30 pieces of silver coins. Judas was one of Jesus' disciples who had betrayed him for greed. Although many Jewish leaders had declared Jesus to be guilty, he still had to be questioned by Pilate. Pilate was the Roman governor at the time who had to pass the final death sentence of Jesus. Jesus was brought in front of Pilate. Pilate asked him if he had heard about the complaint against him and if he knew on what charges he was brought there. Pilate also wanted to know what Jesus had to say about that. But Jesus kept quiet throughout. He did not even speak one word. The priests were getting irritated that Pilate was wasting time questioning him when he should be passing the order right away. They really wanted to get rid of Jesus. Pilate asked Jesus,
Do you belong to Galilee?
Jesus replied very calmly,
Yes.
Galilee was then being ruled by King Herod, who was at that time present in Jerusalem. So Pilate sent Jesus to him to pass the judgment. Herod had heard a lot about Jesus and his powers. He was very keen on meeting him, and so Jesus was brought in front of him. Herod kept asking Jesus many questions, but Jesus remained silent. Finally, tired of trying to make Jesus speak, King Herod sent Jesus back to Pilate.
Wow! Jesus was so strong and silent!
Absolutely!
To watch more videos, please subscribe.
Well, children, Jesus was arrested. The priests wanted him to die, so they made the people go against him. The Roman governor, Pilate, knew that Jesus was innocent, but he could not do anything to save Jesus. So Jesus was taken to a place called Skull Hill, also called Golgotha, outside Jerusalem, where he would be crucified and put to death. 2 other thieves were also being put to death along with Jesus. Jesus was put on a cross by the guards and then set upright on the ground. Many of his followers and disciples had gathered to see him for the last time. Among the people were Jesus' mother, Mary, and one of his closest disciples, John. Before he died, Jesus prayed to the Lord,
Father, please forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing.
Then he looked at John and said,
John, Mary will be your mother.
He looked at Mary and said,
Mother, John will now be your son.
The priests were getting very impatient. The guards then made sure that the two thieves were dead. By the time they reached Jesus, he was already dead. They pierced him to check if he was dead or not. John took Mary to his house and took care of her from that moment onwards.
Polly, I hope this isn't another sad story. I don't like to hear sad stories.
Well, there is hope in this one. I hope you won't feel sad after listening to this story. So Jesus was put to death on a cross at a place called Golgotha, which was outside Jerusalem. After Jesus died on the cross, one of his secret followers, Joseph, asked for permission from Pilate, the Roman governor, to bury Jesus' body. Joseph was a rich man who had come from Arimathea. So Joseph and his friend Nicodemus took Jesus' body to be buried. Nicodemus was another secret disciple of Jesus, like his friend Joseph. They wrapped Jesus in a clean cloth and took him to a newly built tomb, which was not very far away from Golgotha. Nicodemus had brought a special mixture of myrrh and aloe. They spread the mixture all over the body of Jesus and wrapped him in a clean linen according to Jewish customs. After everything was done, Joseph and Nicodemus closed the tomb with a huge boulder. Many people were waiting outside. Mary Magdalene was one of them. The Jewish leaders knew that Jesus had made a promise that he would rise from death after 3 days. So they all went to Pilate and requested him to seal the tomb